In this video, I'm going to be breaking down Tesla's latest update to their full self-driving software. For those of you who don't know, full self-driving is a software that Tesla is rolling out amongst all of their fleet, which basically self-driving, autonomous driving with no intervention or little intervention. And I don't know if you guys have seen the footage, but I'm going to be putting some on the screen. It is absolutely nuts. So what we're going to be discussing in this video is, first of all, why is this important? How are Tesla going to be able to monetize this long term? And what does it mean for them as a business and a business model? And if you stick around to the end, I'll also discuss the implications, not only for society, but for companies like Uber, who are going to be directly impacted by this specific software. And most importantly, what can Uber do to stop the erosion of their business from a technology like this? Because at the end of the day, AI is coming, and it's coming for all business models. And so all companies are going to be faced with this decision of innovation or somehow stopping the erosion of their business from AI. If you haven't seen Tesla FSD, it actually has the ability to drive for you for miles and miles and miles and miles. It slows down for speed humps. It's actually pretty amazing what it can do, which I think is a testament to the work that Tesla's doing with AI at the moment. I actually think they're probably up there with OpenAI as probably the leaders in AI. I think what they're doing is much more impressive. There's obviously debate on how far Tesla FSD 12.3 can go without intervention. Some people have said that they've been able to drive 2 hours without any intervention whatsoever. Some have mentioned that they have been able to do 30 miles. So think about that, and when you see the footage, I think it is absolutely incredible. And only recently, Elon Musk has come out and said that Tesla FSD version 12.4 is going to be a 5 to 10 times improvement on that. So it seems as though that the improvements they're going to make in 12 months time, and if you kind of draw that out over a fair period of time, is that it's only going to compound. So we're going to see like this hockey stick of improvement to this point where they're even talking about being able to sell Teslas or cars with this technology without steering wheels, which is wild to think about. So why is this release important? The first thing that I want to discuss is Tesla has said that they want to become a company that's similar to Uber and Airbnb. And most notably, what that means is they want to become a technology company and some sort of marketplace. And just to understand that comment, a marketplace has two sides. You have the buyer and the seller. In Uber's case, the person wanting a ride, and then you have the Uber driver who's providing a ride, and then you have the car which facilitates. Tesla releasing full self-driving opens up this opportunity for them to obviously move out of this business of selling cars. Well, not move out of it, but it allows them to have this other avenue of business, which is this technology that they're going to be selling in this marketplace. And I just found that to be a really interesting statement. And I think it tells us where Tesla's really trying to get to. And I find that really interesting for companies like Uber, which I just think in a really interesting position right now. I think the key things that we need to understand next is the monetization of full self-driving and the business models that open up for Tesla, because I just think there's so much opportunity here. And so the first monetization strategy that Tesla will be able to leverage is a subscription business. Full self-driving is going to be a subscription that they sell to their pre-existing owners of cars, as well as new cars and customers that they're bringing into the business. So obviously Tesla has already sold a whole heap of cars. They've got a massive fleet out there on the roads and heaps of customers that they already own Teslas. And so they'll obviously be able to sell the software to those Teslas and upgrade the software of the cars that people already own. And then you also have people who are going to buy cars who will then have to add this subscription to their purchase. They only really have to convert, in my opinion, 10 to 20% of their pre-existing customers and new customers to add so much value to the company already, which is just super impressive. If you're a Tesla owner and your car has the ability to go out there and be a rideshare vehicle, and Tesla has already talked about this, they've already released pre-existing plans and UX UI of a rideshare app within Tesla. You just think about that and you go, wow, that opens up just a total new marketplace where Tesla owners could literally be making money on the time that they're not using their car, which kind of brings us back to this whole comment of Airbnb and Uber, the mixture of those two things together, where if you own this asset, you can make money on that asset. I don't even know how to explain this because it sounds so crazy to say, but it's like full self-driving is out there as a ride share. You're doing a revenue split with Tesla on that money. It's a passive income for you as an individual based on this asset that you have, which is absolutely crazy. Tesla has already released statements saying that they would leverage the fleet that's already out there for this this rideshare app, as well as obviously producing some of their fleet and holding onto some of that fleet and then just only using that for rideshare, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it would just be such a profitable decision for them to do that. So you can think about it this way: leverage some of the fleet that's already out there, keep some of the fleet instead of selling it to people, keep it internally, use that for rideshare only. That's, nearly 95% gross margins, really high profitability on the fleet that they have and own. You think about that as a business, it's such a serious business. And so the revenue share that you're going to have with customers who have already purchased Teslas in the fleet that's already out there on the road, that is just a ludicrous opportunity for Tesla. It's a money-making machine combined with the fleet that they're going to create that they'll keep for rideshare with, say, like 99% gross margins is just crazy. You think about what it's going to cost them to produce a car versus what they'll make back on the lifetime of a car, which could be 10, 20 years, especially as the technology and they get better at producing those cars. It is just ludicrous what this could do for their business. And then you just think about what this does for Tesla as a brand, and then more importantly, the value proposition for actually owning a Tesla. If a car is going to cost me between 60 to 120K, and I know that over the next 5 years, I could make that back plus more, I literally can't see how this does not just 10x the value proposition of actually owning a Tesla. So I just think that from a subscription business perspective, this is just going to be gigantic. And not only do I want to own a Tesla in the future, but I just want to be a shareholder. I just think that the subscription business model that this adds to Tesla is just going to be so transformative for not only them as a business, but how we think of business models as a whole and what AI can do to transform businesses over the next 10 years. And then there's partnerships. If you're asking me, do I think Uber is going to be destroyed by this? I think the only way that they don't get destroyed by this is by actually doing a partnership with Tesla. That is the next kind of key business model for Tesla, is partnerships. Like, what kind of partnerships could there be? You think about Uber Eats, you think about Uber in general, you think about couriers and what could happen there. You think about all these partnerships that Tesla could go into. I just think it's endless. So I'm just really interested to see what happens in the partnership space. And look, the next big thing that I wanted to talk about is the implications. So I think it creates this big posing question, which I think is on the mind of everyone at the moment, is what does rideshare leveraging full self-driving actually mean for Uber drivers, and how many jobs does that destroy? And it's this bigger question that I think is on everyone's mind at the moment, is what are the implications of AI and jobs? And does it mean less jobs in totality for society? My personal belief is that AI is not going to drive the amount of jobs that are out there in society down. I actually think it's quite the opposite. I just think that, like the Industrial Revolution, there's going to be a big shift in the type of jobs that are out there. I want to paint a picture for you in the fact that at the moment, the job that we're talking about is an Uber driver. And so obviously there's a person in a car driving people around. And I think what this probably ends up looking like, and I could be totally wrong, is that there is an individual that is remote that would be actually managing a fleet, so that if there was an intervention that was needed, you have kind of one person that's overlooking a whole fleet of these full self-driving rideshare cars, and they're probably intervening when necessary. If you think about productivity and how productivity drives economies, the value creation that this would actually create for society is crazy. My key point on this is that we just need to rethink the way we're looking at, first of all, the jobs that are going to be done in the future, because AI is going to dramatically change that. And if you think about the idea of productivity as a society, the fact that we can now be generating the same amount of revenue with a lower cost structure is a really good thing for society. It's going to drive productivity. And at the moment, that's what society needs. We need to be driving productivity. And so the last implication I'll talk about is just regulations. And I think my big thing with this is that I look at this and I still can't fathom what it would be like to be in a car where that car is driving itself and I'm in the back of it. I don't know what that feeling would be like. So I'm really interested and I really want to experience it. And I think society has a massive mental leap to make for this to be widely adopted. I think that's the biggest hurdle, along with regulation. I think obviously those two things go hand in hand. I think society mentally has to be okay with this. And I just don't know how long that will take. And then that coincides with regulation, because if society doesn't want it to happen and there's a big pushback, it only takes for one really, really bad thing to happen for this to just be pushed back in terms of the amount of years it takes to get this over the line. What does regulation look like around this? And what does Elon Musk and Tesla have to do to get this to a point where government says, yes, this can be widely adopted? That's a watch this space. And I want to leave you with a little story. I flew to Gold Coast the other day as I was thinking about this exact concept, and I wanted to rent a car. And the experience for me of, first of all, the cost of renting a car, the amount of additional fees like insurance, and if there is a crash, what I have to pay as my excess, and the whole experience of needing to catch a shuttle to this where the cars are parked, and the experience of getting the keys and all of this. And the reason that I wanted to actually rent the car in the first place was because I needed to go to a whole heap of different locations in one day and what that would have cost me because of the cost of Ubers. And I just thought about, like, if there was self-driving rideshare and I was paying a subscription of $20 a month because I could pay that because the cost structure would allow me to, I just wouldn't be in this situation. And so there's another business that's going to be completely wiped out, which is this business of renting a car that is just such a painful experience. It's just a story of, like, in my head, why I wanted to talk about this was, like, I just feel like there's going to be a whole heap of businesses wiped out by this rideshare business by Tesla. And that as a consumer, I just wish I had that right now, because as a business owner who travels a lot, I wouldn't be spending as much on Ubers, and then I wouldn't need to go through this horrible car rental process that was just the most painful thing in the world. So AI is here. It's here to stay. The world's going to look very different in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years. We can't imagine what that looks like. I'm really excited about it because of the innovation. But my big question to all of you, let me know in the comments, is, does this mark the end of Uber? Secondly, what do you think about full self-driving? Is it something you're comfortable with? Would you get in a full self-driving rideshare car and let it drive you around? Let me know in the comments. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I find this stuff fascinating. So this is, again, a part of a new style of content for me. So I'd really love for you guys to let me know what you think. And more importantly, if you're enjoying it, hit the subscribe button, leave me a review if you're listening to the podcast. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you next week.